It's the final edition of Business Incorporated for the week, and it's a pleasure having you on the program. I am Bisi Adebayo. Coming up on the program today, Nigeria's FSDH Group has projected a decline in the country's headline inflation to 16.95% in February. Plus, South Africa's central bank says it would put up for sale nearly 150,000 of its shares owned by people with exceeded limits. And Kenya's Purchasing Managers Index dips to a record low of 50.1 reading in February. Let's get the show started now, and we kick off with the markets beginning here in Africa, where the figures are mostly in the green, with Nigeria's all-share index up 0.73% at intraday at 25,009.81. But all the other markets are also up except the South Africa GSE, which is down 0.97%. The Egyptian index closed on Thursday at 2.6%. And in the Middle East, the Abu Dhabi index is 0.59% higher at 4,596.39, while the Dubai financial market is lower at 3,583.66. The Qatar SA is also down 0.29% at 10,721.15, while the Saudi Stock Exchange is 0.72% higher at 7,016.66. Well, let's move to Wall Street, where the stock exchange index futures are all in the red as traders eyed comments from Federal Reserve Chair Janet Yellen and a number of other Fed speakers. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 0.03% to 21,000 points, while the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq index are also lower at 2,378.58 and 5,355.75 points each. On the other hand, it was another record-breaking week in the U.S. as the major average broke through all-time highs and the widely anticipated Snap IPO debut on the New York Stock Exchange. Well, with more detail now is Jill Malandrino, VOA Channels TV business correspondent from the VOA studios in New York. Good afternoon, Jill. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. And every week we continue to report on astounding stats in U.S. stocks. We saw a bit of a pause on Thursday. Futures are lower this morning. But let's look at what made history this week. The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed above the 21,000 mark. It topped after surging over 300 points on Wednesday. This only took 24 trading sessions to 21,000 from 20,000, the second fastest 1,000-point move in the Dow ever. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq also closed at record highs, their 21st and 28th record close, respectively, since the election of Donald Trump to the U.S. presidency. This week, markets took Trump's first official speech to both sides of Congress very well because he took a presidential tone and painted a vision for the country. It was a very positive speech, a unifying speech. However, it still lacked details on economic policy, but the market appears to be overlooking the absence of details due to its generally positive tone. Hopes for a tax cut may continue to provide underlying support even if details remain sparse.
Now, what's the outlook on the Fed Chief Janet Yellen's speech on the radar today?
Well, the key question that traders are asking, has this rally run out of steam? That may be the question they've been asking since Trump took office. Here's a valuable lesson that we learn in trading. The trend is a trend until it isn't anymore. For traders looking to time bottoms and tops in the market, it's been a painful experience, particularly in this stretch of the bull market. Consumer confidence, fundamentals, and data overall, they're improving. Outside of the Trump bump, traders, as you mentioned, are going to turn their focus to Federal Reserve and interest rate hikes. Hawkish words from the Fed, which now appear more likely to institute a rate hike this month, also may have played a role in the rally. A rate hike now appears to be viewed by many investors as a vote of confidence in the economy, as opposed to the past where it was seen as a potential market derailment. The futures are pricing in about a 77% chance of a March hike. And today we'll get a little bit more clues into that with Fed Chair Janet Yellen speaking. And there's also another speaker that will be on the circuit today as well.
VOA Channels TV financial correspondent Jill Malandrino, thank you for your time and do have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Well, let's cross over to the Asian markets, which lost ground today following an overnight decline in U.S. equities and chances that the Federal Reserve might hike interest rates later this month. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 closed down 0.49% at 19,469.17. And in Australia, the benchmark ASX 200 closed down 0.81% to 5,729.60, with most sectors finishing lower, while the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index was down 0.66% in late afternoon trade. The Chinese mainland shares closed mixed, with the Shanghai Composite down 0.34% at 3,219.18, and the Shenzhen Composite ended up 0.21% at 2,001.90. Let's take a breather from those numbers now. The financial services firm FSDH Group is projecting a decline in Nigeria's inflation rate for February to 16.95%. In a report from the research department of the firm, the projection is based on the effect of price movements in consumer goods and services sectors in February. FSDH Group expects a marginal increase to impact the composite consumer price index by about 217.41 points. If the forecast is anything to go by, it will be the first decline after 15 months of consecutive increase in headline inflation. South Africa's central bank says it will put up for sale nearly 150,000 of its shares owned by people who have exceeded limits set up by a court to prevent undue influence in the regulator. The South African Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetja Kyango, told reporters that the bank had identified certain people amassing shares and that this posed a danger to the bank's independence. Shares in the bank may be acquired by means of an over-the-counter share trading facility and earn a dividend of 10 South African cents per share annually. A 2016 court ruled that anyone holding more than 10,000 shares in the central bank must sell their extra shares in line with a 2010 amendment to the Constitutional Act to bring down the statutory limit. The amendment also limits the rights of shareholders to nominate non-executive directors, vote on remuneration, or the appointment of auditors.